welcome back to my channel. My name's Molly and I do videos about mental health and lifestyle, and today I am doing a misconceptions video, and this is hopefully going to be the start of a mini series, and I'm going to start off with OCD. This is the third time I'm filming because my camera kept running out of memory and I kept thinking that it was filming, and so hopefully third time lucky. And I am going to try and keep this to around 10 minutes just because I do tend to talk quite a lot, and my previous videos have been quite long, and I know not everybody wants a mammoth long video to watch, so I'm just going to try and jump right in and get right into it. And I do have some notes down there, so if I'm looking, that's what I'm looking at. Right, so the first thing that I've got down is that everybody is a little OCD, or the idea that everybody's a little OCD. Now, that is completely untrue. They estimated between 1 and 2% of people have OCD. Now, I'm not sure where they got that statistic from or how that statistic came about. So please, if you've got a better statistic or you've got better information on statistics relating to how many people have got OCD, that'd be great. That's just the one that I found, but I do know that it's a tiny amount of people compared to the population who do suffer with OCD. Having said that, there's a lot of people, which means that there's a lot of people that do suffer with OCD, obviously. But there's nothing more disheartening than when you say, if you've plucked up enough courage to explain to a family member or a friend about your OCD diagnosis, and then they say to you, oh, I'm a little OCD too, or oh, I get OCD sometimes when I'm cleaning the cupboards. It's not OCD. Just being tidy or wanting things in a certain way doesn't mean that you've got OCD. And in fact, a lot of people with OCD are not very tidy or have got no issue or intrusive thoughts with contamination or germs, and it just minimises the impact of the actual disorder when somebody says something like that. And I know that it doesn't come from a place of hate or a place of upsetting someone, and in ways it's kind of trying to connect with someone, because as humans we do like to connect through shared experiences. Or are you saying it comes from how it's portrayed in the media, I think, because it is portrayed as someone who's super clean, or we've all seen that OCD cleaning program where it's somebody who cleans the house 16 times a day and can't have anything out of place, and also in the way it's shown in films. So I do understand why people have that kind of thinking towards it, but that's what we've got to change. We've got to change how people see the disorder so that we can get people to have more understanding and empathy towards sufferers, and people who suffer will feel comfortable speaking about the disorder as well. So please, if you are sitting here now and you think, oh, I've said that before, I'm not like having a go, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, I just try to think next time before saying it, because it, as much as it might come from a place of love and support, it's so disheartening when you get that response from someone who doesn't suffer with OCD and can't contemplate how difficult it is, because at the end of the day it's a mental health disorder and it can completely ruin people's lives. It's so debilitating in so many ways. Yeah, so number 2 I've got kind of relates to what we've just been talking about, but I said that being super tidy or clean is a common sign of OCD, or that is what OCD means. Now, as I said before, it's no fault of people, it's just how it is portrayed. However, people with OCD don't have to be clean and tidy, and not everybody that's got OCD has intrusive thoughts about germs or contamination. Not everybody washes their hands 1,000 times. But this idea is one that the stereotype or the stigma really needs to be broken, because it not only diminishes the person's the effect of the disorder on people when people are looking at them, but it also means that a lot of people go undiagnosed because they don't have what is portrayed as the typical OCD symptoms, and they don't realise that it's OCD that they're suffering with, because they might think, well, I'm having all these awful thoughts and I keep thinking I've done things that I haven't, and I'm doing all of these things that I can't control, but I'm not very clean, I'm not very tidy, I can't have OCD. And that's so dangerous when somebody needs support, but they're too scared to ask for it because they think they'll be judged, or they assume that they can't have a disorder because they don't fit into the box that's being built by society. So I think that's one that we really do need to spread awareness on. And it's a lot, even so there are even people who do have intrusive thoughts about being contaminated or needing to be clean, or they have compulsions relating to hand washing or cleaning, or they do need things to be in certain places. That it's so much deeper than that. That is just one symptom of a very, very complicated disorder, and it's only scratching the surface. So you might see that and think, oh, that person just like needs to be tidy. It's so much more than that. And because people have this idea of it being clean and tidy, a lot of the time as well, you might have told someone that you've got OCD, and it could be quite difficult to tell someone. And then they might see your room one day and say something like, I thought you were supposed to be OCD. Now, that again, I don't think it comes from a place of malicious. I don't think it's malicious. It comes from a place of hate, and a lot of the time it's just a simple joke that somebody's saying. But if you're somebody who is struggling day in, day out internally in complete turmoil, and somebody says that, you do laugh it off. I know that I've done that on countless occasions. You laugh it off, but inside you're thinking, if only you knew. And you do just end up feeling more isolated, because if something like that comes out of someone's mouth, you kind of automatically assume they've got no idea of what I'm going through. So obviously that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spread awareness and help people understand a bit more. So please don't feel threatened or attacked if you have done these things in the past. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm just trying to spread awareness, and as I said, it's stigma and stereotypes that have been, going around for a long time. So if that's something that you do believe or you do think, don't worry. We just need to obviously build on people's understanding and knowledge of the disorder. Um, the third point I've put is hand washing non-stop. So again, that kind of just links into the previous point. There's a misconception that people with OCD wash their hands constantly, and that again might be true for some, not true for everyone. And it also can be quite dangerous, because if somebody who may be in recovery from that particular compulsion is then it's then brought up as almost a, oh, well, I don't see you washing your hands all the time kind of thing, it can then spiral back out of control for that person. And also with OCD, it's a forever changing and an adapting disorder. So things that you may, compulsions and intrusive thoughts, or things that you may have suffered with when you were younger, may have changed to something else. You might not struggle with those particular thoughts or compulsions anymore, but you've got new ones, or you still have them and then you've got more on top of that. So it is forever changing and adapting. Just because that person's not struggling with that now doesn't mean they haven't in the past, and doesn't mean they won't in the future. But it's not a cut and dry, if they don't wash their hands 1,000 times they're not OCD. So that's just an important thing to remember as well. So, and I've lost count again. I think it's the fifth, could be wrong. So the fifth one, and one I think that's really important, is that people's people's intrusive thoughts do not make them dangerous. Now, what I mean by this, if you don't know much about OCD can cause intrusive thoughts. The thoughts are always extremely distressing, and they are normally the complete opposite of what that person's beliefs are and their values. It can make people believe they've done things that they haven't, and it can make people believe that they are dangerous. So it can it can make people think things like, say I was going to see a friend and I could have a thought of, but what if I'm a serial killer and I don't know and I'm gonna harm them? Or what if I want to harm them and I don't realise I want to harm them? And what if I go crazy? So everybody has thoughts constantly, all day, every day, that just come in and out. And some of them we take notice of, some of them we think consciously, and some of them we don't. I always try to explain it to people that don't suffer with OCD is we've all had the thought of when you're on a balcony or high up area and you think, oh, what if I jumped off? Or what if I threw my phone off? It's just a fleeting thought that comes and then it passes. Now, people without OCD can just, that thought just goes past and they accept it as just one of those things. It doesn't actually mean anything. People that have got OCD, their brain doesn't process the fact that those thoughts don't mean anything properly, and you can become fixated on the thought itself. So because you will really care about the friend that you're going to visit, having thoughts of possibly harming them would be horrific. And if you'd had that thought, it should have just happened and then you passed it off as just a thought that went past. That doesn't happen. OCD makes you think of things that are the worst possible outcomes of situations or the things that will distress you the most, and then convinces you that you are not sure whether or not that it's your thought. So people then can start to believe that they are a danger. Then that can be where compulsions come in. They do the compulsion to prevent the thought, or they do the compulsion because they think it'll prevent them from acting on the thought. Or say it could even be as simple as, I need to get a shower because otherwise the world will end. You could have already had 5 showers that day, but you keep having that same thought and you have to keep getting that shower. That's just an example, completely off the top of my head, but it is so distressing and so mentally tiring. But the thoughts that the person's having are not their own thoughts. They're not thoughts that they want to do. So if somebody has OCD and they explain to you the thoughts that they're having, please don't be worried or scared of that person. Obviously, if the person's not getting any support and are not getting help for the disorder, then it might be worth trying to help them get some support, or maybe speaking to someone on their behalf if they're a bit concerned and you are worried about their mental state and their mental health. But don't try, I think a lot of the time it can be easy to distance yourself from someone because you don't understand why they're having those thoughts, especially if you don't understand OCD and you've got this preconceived idea of what OCD is because of how it's portrayed in the media. So if somebody then sits you down and says, I'm having XYZ feelings and they're quite graphic or disturbing, I understand why you could get worried or concerned, but they're not, the reason the person's having those thoughts is because they're the complete opposite of what that person would want to do. So please just bear that in mind when somebody opens up to you if they've got OCD, because it's distressing for that person. And if they've got someone that they can speak to about it without that person being worried or concerned that they're actually a danger, it can be so helpful. But that's why we have to break the stigma of the idea of what OCD is, because obviously it's not close to what it is portrayed as in the media. And the last one I put is that people with OCD just need to relax. Now, we've all heard this 1,000 times if you've got any mental health disorder. And I do again think it comes from a place of people caring, and it also comes from a lack of knowledge and understanding of mental health. We all know a mental health disorder is no different to having a physical disorder. You wouldn't tell someone who's got diabetes just to be more positive and the diabetes will go away. You can help someone have a more positive outlook, and I do think that like self-love and practicing positivity and gratitude is a step towards helping you on your way to recovery, but it's not the only solution and it's not the reason why that person's ill. if a person's suffering with a mental health disorder, it's not their fault. They haven't brought it on themselves. And a lot of the time, there is this misconception of maybe they're just being too negative, or maybe they're not trying hard enough. And you wouldn't say that if somebody got another disorder that was physical or that you could see. So it's just because it's the mind doesn't mean it's any less significant or important. And there's no easy fix of just wishing it away. I wish there was, but there's not, and it's not helpful. Just telling someone to be a bit more positive or to smile, helping them to see the world in a more positive light, is great, especially if they're stuck in a little bit of a cycle. But also getting proper help and support is the best thing for that person, and professional help if it's required. There are things that can get better, or there's things, sorry, that can help get better. No, that's all right. There is things out there to help you get better. Obviously, OCD is something that you'll always have, but there are techniques and there is medications and therapies that can really help, so that you might have OCD, but OCD doesn't have your life. And there's a lot of information online about help and support as well. Mind.com or mind.co.uk is a great resource. There's loads of linked resources on their website and loads of information, and also information about talking to people about your OCD as well. And also there's exposure therapy, and there's medication, and there's CBT. So there's so many options to help you with your OCD. But I do think a massive step will be breaking the stigma and spreading awareness of the disorder, so that you can have open and honest conversations with people and they will understand, and it won't just be dismissed as OCD is just something that is just related to cleanliness or related to being tidy. So yeah, I'm going to end the video here. If you've got any suggestions, or there is any misconceptions you think I've missed out or that you want to discuss, please mention them in the comments. I'll go through them, and hopefully we can start a discussion down there as well. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be informed when I upload again. And please share the video if you wouldn't mind. The more it gets shared, the more the information gets out there, and hopefully the better we can break the stigma. The more people that get the correct knowledge and the correct information, the more open discussions we can have, which is the whole point. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again next time. Bye.